This is the AI Brand Voice, the podcast about clarity and not confusion, where we cut through the hype and get straight to what's real for brands in the age of AI. Now, think about that content you see every day, that Instagram post whipped up in minutes, or the YouTube thumbnail that grabs your attention, or a template that lets a small business look like it's a major brand. Behind all of it are tools reshaping how we create. A few people know those tools better than today's guest, Ronnie Hermosa. Ronnie is a Canva verified expert with a massive global following, known for turning complex features into clear, detailed tutorials that empower millions of creators. Together with his partner, Deanna, better known as Team Rondy, they've built a powerhouse duo, showing the world how AI and creativity scale ideas and businesses alike. So in short, if AI is rewriting the rules of content, this is the content master himself. Ronnie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tom. Thank you for this flattering introduction, and I'm glad to be here.
Excellent. No, really excited to have you on, Ronnie, and thanks for making the time. I think this is such an interesting area of conversation, especially when you think about creativity and brands. And I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to all these different AI creativity enhancing tools. But just to zoom out a little bit, would you mind just talking a little bit to your journey into getting into this space?
Right. Yes. So like you said, it could be confusing. There's just so many tools. Seems like every day you wake up to like a plethora of new tools to experiment with. So our journey was, I would say, pretty classic. So taking it back to the end of 2022, when ChatGPT actually launched, for many people, this is kind of like ground zero of their AI knowledge. Though the more you dig into the niche and the topic, you understand that AI didn't start in 2022. It was like a field that was being researched for decades, even before, but it was just a lab thing, like a scientist thing. But it's really with this moment when OpenAI released ChatGPT, I think it was November 2022, and then the few following months, it was kind of rolled out to the public and people started experimenting with it and really feeling the AI and what it could do. And that moment was, for many people, eye-opening. And that's what got us to where we are. So for me, it was similar. I discovered ChatGPT, I believe, December 2022 through a fellow Canva creator, fellow Canva verified expert named Robson, also a YouTuber. And he told me, look, you should look into this tool. It's amazing. And so I watched one of the tutorials he had created about ChatGPT on his channel. And I thought, okay, I need to give this a go. And I did. And I started like playing around with it, just asking questions. And then immediately I started to ask questions about what kind of content should I create for my channel, like trying to use it in a professional setting right away. And I found it so interesting that I created a first video. And I think this video was called Turn ChatGPT into Your Personal Assistant. It got almost 300,000 views. Not immediately, but it amassed a lot of views very quickly on that channel. Like compared to our regular, I would say, Canva tutorials, this video was performing really well. So this video was published, if I am not mistaken, on January 2023. So that's kind of the two, like that's for me when it all started. Like with this video, the success it got on the channel, I saw, okay, there's something there.
Amazing, yeah. And just to set the scene a little bit more, what was your prior experience in creativity before that? Just to understand a bit more about you specifically and your skill set.
Right. So I've been creating content since 2018, I believe. I mean, content for educational content. So that started as a Canva course. In 2018, I decided to stop the job I was doing with my NGO. I had an NGO prior to that. it's a long story, but I was creating documentaries about the fair trade organizations around the world. That's a project I started in 2011. Not going to get too much into that. So those of you who want to know can look up Fair Trade Connection online. But after 8 years traveling pretty much around the world, we were tired of traveling. And so we needed to settle somewhere, find like another job or another project because we were really entrepreneurs. And we decided to get into online education. And I decided to start creating a course about Canva. So that's when the Canva Master Course was born. It's a course that I published on Udemy, and it took me a long time to create it, to produce it, about 4 or 5 months, because I wanted it to be the best course. And so, yeah, that course led me to start a Facebook group, which grew into a 60,000 people community. This led me to other opportunities, one of them being hired by Canva, moving to Sydney, working for Canva as their head of communities for 2 years, and then decided, okay, let's continue this content entrepreneur journey. And so I left my job at Canva, moved back to Europe, and with my wife Diana, and today we have a YouTube channel which is over 500,000 subscribers. That is mostly dedicated to teaching people how to use Canva. But also, since 2023, we also talk about AI, ChatGPT, and the generative AI tools that are, in my opinion, as powerful as Canva for content creators and content entrepreneurs.
Oh, interesting. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. And are you noticing from your quite substantial audience base, is there a particular type of content piece that you know resonates with the audience? Is it, are they having trouble with a particular type of question that keeps coming up? Are there any patterns, let's say, that you're noticing?
Yeah, well, it's a large audience, so we've noticed some types of content are working. I don't know if it's so much linked to the audience itself or to the algorithms of YouTube, because that's another thing. You have to kind of learn as a content creator to live with the algorithms that keep changing. So your content needs to evolve over time. And you need to figure out, like you were talking about patterns, you need to figure out the patterns not only from what your audience is asking for, but also like how YouTube is, what does YouTube like at the moment? Like what kind of format, what kind of thumbnails, what kind of hooks, what kind of, so all of this is as important, we've noticed, though YouTube keeps saying like, create content that your audience loves and all will be fine. And we tried that, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it doesn't, because formats keep changing. So that's something you need to know as a content creator. Now, if I want to answer your question more specifically, Canva novelties is something people are very demanding. So they would like to know what's going on, like what are the new features. And we have a content series called What's Hot in Canva, that every month I talk about the new features as a Canva expert. So that's a Canva community. We get early access to the new features they roll out. And so we can easily prepare these types of episodes and make it nice. And so every month we kind of have like a Canva news episode where we talk about the new stuff. And this content has historically been working very well for us. Otherwise, like we know that there is a high demand for the making money with these tools, kind of tutorials, which is for us, it's always been, I wouldn't say a taboo, but I would say it's something we don't wish to really delve into, like how to make money with this and making thumbnails with like dollar bills and like bling bling and all this stuff, because we don't feel that it represents us. We are making money with these tools, but we don't want to, like, we feel like a lot of content creators are kind of selling smoke, like they're selling the dream of making lots of money without doing much. And we don't believe in that. Like, our journey has not been a straightforward, simple, easy, easy one. It's been a challenging journey. We've been working super hard, and it's not. It didn't happen overnight. So when I see people saying just do that and you will earn like 10,000 a month by just selling a Canva template or whatever, I'm like, no, no, that's not how it works. So yeah, we kind of resisted falling into that niche, though we know it works. So yeah, it's been tempting, but we decided that's not who we are. So yeah.
I certainly like the values that you stand by and your desire to educate your audiences on how they can maximize the use of these tools. I mean, I'm just imagining that myself included, somebody interested in design and wanting to use AI to augment their processes. Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more? Obviously, you've got Canva as probably your bedrock of your design, but I'm interested to know like what your typical AI portfolio tools are essentially. Like, can you speak what typically you might use in your workflows?
Yeah, absolutely. I like to call that my AI tech stack. But yeah, so basically, I'm not one to experiment with a lot of tools at the same time. First, because I don't have time to spend like the 1 week necessary to really understand a new tool per se and start integrating it. But I do use ChatGPT. That is, aside from Canva, my other rock. Like, ChatGPT is my go-to LLM. I have a plus plan. I've used DALL-E quite a lot independently from ChatGPT, and then obviously when it got integrated into ChatGPT 4.0, I used that quite a lot. Leonardo AI, which is now part of the Canva family. Leonardo has been acquired by Canva, I think in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. Canva itself has developed a bunch of AI features, AI-powered features. So that's all the Magic Studio, Magic Design, Magic Edit, Magic Eraser. More recently, Canva got like an updated AI suite, I would say. It's now called Canva AI, so you can generate images. They kind of integrated the Leonardo tech into Canva. They baked it into Canva. They released Canva Code. You can now code little interactive apps and experiences directly in Canva. So that's Canva's version of vibe coding. I've used that. I like Perplexity as a search engine or as a Google replacement. And obviously, there is all the other AI tools or AI-powered tools that are not as flashy as these and not as recent. For example, when you remove the background of an image in Canva, that's also AI. When you search for a template and you've got like precise recommendations, oh, you may also like this, that's also AI. So AI has been around for a long time, and it's there. But yes, most of the time people associate AI with ChatGPT for the same thing, for the same reason I mentioned earlier. They were kind of ground zero of AI for many people. But yeah, there are other really cool products that I wish I had more time to explore. If I had now like a month free in my schedule, I would dive deep into 11 Labs for creating voices, HeyGen for creating AI avatars. I would go deep into AI video. So I've explored VO3 from Google since it's been also integrated with Canva. So we've thought about that, created content about that. But there are so many others that are really good as well. Runway, Kling, Halo, all of these cool programs. I wish I had more time. But yeah, it's just so many things to explore. And Notebook LM is another one that is on my list. I have actually a running list of things I would like to explore. And I think that's kind of like a scoop I'm giving here, but next year we would like to kind of adapt the type of content we are creating to really dive much deeper into these tools and change the style of teaching as well. Not have courses that are as produced, as maybe takes that much time to produce, but have a teaching style that is more closer to a live session where we would dive into one of these tools and kind of build as we go or learn as we go. So people would be able to jump in with us and learn that tool during that specific week. For example, we would have like an 11 labs week or a notebook LM week where we just focus on that tool with our community for a week and see how far we can go. So that's something that is kind of cooking in the back burner.
Forward to seeing that. And I'm just thinking about a typical creative process that somebody might go on. You have an idea or a desired outcome, and you go on a creative journey and you create your output. And now you've got these AI tools that, you know, let's imagine they sit on top of that process now. I'm just wondering, have you noticed any, you know, quite drastic gear shifts in terms of like that process now because of those tools? Is there anything significant that you're seeing from a design creative process that, yeah, this has really changed how people work creatively?
Mm-hmm. Well, it definitely has changed how I work. And I'm trying to teach the rest of my team at Team Ronny. We are 7 people. It's not just me and Diana. So I'm trying to teach them also how to further integrate these tools into their workflow. So we have 3 video editors. I'm really encouraging them to play with these AI video generating tools. I'm giving them some free time so that they can experiment with that, showing them the tool, sharing tutorials with them. So I can speak from my experience of like how it's helped me. So ChatGPT has been really like a game changer for us. Like when you learn how to really use it properly, it becomes your thought partner. It becomes your sounding board. It becomes your business coach. It becomes your design expert that gives feedback on everything you design, or it becomes your copywriter specialist that is fine-tuning anything you write. And this has been very powerful. It has sped up my workflow by, I don't know, maybe 5x. The way, like, it used to take me a lot of time to script my content, to really make it sound like me, or to simply write a lecture. It would take me probably a day to write one lecture, or to write a course description for Udemy when the course is ready, or Skillshare or whatever. It would take forever. That would be a tedious job that I didn't like to do. And now it's just like I have a prompt formula that I can put in. It already knows what the course is all about because I've used the same chat for working on all of my titles for the entire course, for all of my intros, for everything. So it knows what the course is about. It knows everything. So when I'm done, I'm just asking, okay, can you help me put together a course description that is SEO optimized, focuses on these keywords? So it just spits it out, and it's usually almost good to go. And I don't feel like it's creating for me because it's been a process. So basically, the AI at this point becomes a working partner, and yeah, it's both good and not great because it kind of makes you become dependent on the tech. Like the day there is no internet, you're like, oh, I need to write all of this stuff now by myself, and you kind of feel a bit helpless.
Like your partner's letting you down.
Yeah, like you just broke up. But yeah, I mean, since it's there and it's so powerful, in my opinion, it would be crazy not to use it. But what are the long-term consequences of that, of like relying so much on this intelligence instead of using your own intelligence? I don't know. And I'm honestly, it's something I'm thinking about, like, where is this going? But right now, it's super powerful, and it would be crazy not to use it for people like us.
I was going to ask, you know, which tools do you think are, you know, most worth using? And I think you've answered it. And I'm starting to see now that you can use ChatGPT or another LLM to almost be your your executive functioning side of you, whilst you can be in your own creative space, and this tool can help create the structure and do a lot of that sort of heavy lifting of some of the thinking and the scaffolding that you want to build around your creative process. I really like that as a way to build in efficiency to your content production processes.
Mm-hmm.
So as someone who is building a career out of educating and teaching people how to use these AI content creation tools, are you noticing that the need for traditional design skills is diminishing because of those tools, or are you still seeing that better content production can be produced if you have that knowledge and skill set? Where's your thinking at when it comes to that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would divide the people using the tools into two different categories. On the one hand, you have the professional designers, the brand creatives, the creative directors. Okay, those people who studied the topic, who have built careers in that topic, and these people have not just the knowledge, but they also have the experience. And so that's one side of the story. The other side is content creators, people who need design, people who need to create and communicate visually. So that would be Mr. and Miss, like everyone, like mom and pops, or just regular business people who used to depend on a graphic designer in their company or in their structure organization to create all of that visual communication, marketing, branding. But now they are empowered enough so that they could do it themselves. Okay, so we have these two categories. I think it's definitely like AI and the tools that we have at our disposal today are definitely making design less complicated and more accessible. That's actually Canva's mission, to empower everyone to design. That's, I think, word for word Canva's mission, or at least the early days mission. And it's still that, but it's just grown bigger than just design. It's also video, it's also coding, it's also everything now. So yeah, I do believe that it's better if everyone can come up with decent designs, but not everyone can be a creative director, in my opinion, because that experience is what makes the difference between someone who has access to tools and can come up with a cool logo or have AI design a cool logo for a brand, and someone who can create a complex brand system that makes sense, that is consistent, that resonates with the actual identity of a company, of a brand. That takes much more understanding, context, and experience to really nail down than just to be able to prompt an AI and come up with a decent looking logo. So yeah, I think it's good that now everyone has access to design, because it removes the bottleneck of the designer in the company, and it kind of frees up their time to focus on higher level stuff. And it's also rewarding for everyone who can actually come up with a nice looking presentation or a good flyer or even a logo or even an entire brand identity by themselves for their project, because they are saving on resources they would otherwise dedicate to paying for a professional to do that. So yeah, I think it's a win-win. But one is not replacing the other. Like, because you have access to Canva and ChatGPT doesn't make you qualified to become the lead designer for a Fortune 500 brand.
And do you still think you need this creative eye and this creative know-how that maybe is somewhat more innate, and you can't recreate that, let's say?
Yes, yeah, you still need the design fundamentals. Like, you still need to understand alignment, white space. You still need to understand consistency. You still need to have this feel for when you look at two logos, which one is good, which one is just average. Like, and I don't think this is something you can do. Well, you can ask an AI to give you some feedback, and it will give you like very accurate feedback because it knows everything. So it knows all of these design principles. But if you don't understand them profoundly yourself, when you look at it, and you always need the AI to tell you this is good, this is not good, then you're not ready to be that great designer. You're still learning. You just have a better tool to learn from.
So when I think of marketing in a broad sense, you have your different elements to it. You might have your brand managers, you might have your marketing managers, okay, you have your senior marketing leaders, and then of course you have your designers. And I've worked with a lot of designers, whether or not that's managing my own design teams or if it's working with specific creative agencies. And I think the general sentiment across the whole industry is that the industry is very precarious now. And what do you think are the biggest misconceptions when it comes to the integration of AI in the context of a designer and a creative person in the creative marketing industry?
Yeah. So when you say precarious, like you mean at risk of disappearing?
Yes, exactly. I think the topic of job
Right.
displacement, I think, people can be quite quick to say, hey, like, AI is going to take my job. My design training was never needed.
Yeah.
This type of, yeah, you hear that sentiment.
Yes, I do. And I mean, probably. It's probably where we are going. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I mean, I'm kind of a believer of, yes, when you really look at the speed of progress in the AI field, like you take it back 2022, like let's say 2023 is like year one of ChatGPT. We are mid 2025, so 2.5 years in, and it's already become so much more powerful. Like not just ChatGPT. Let's take image generation. The first, like back then, it was Stable Diffusion, it was Midjourney, it was a little bit of DALL-E, but today, I mean, I can input my photo and ask it to make me look like I was dressed from the 1970s, and it makes me with a Beatles cut and like a hippie T-shirt. It's amazing, and it's me. It's like the same exact facial expressions. Like, this was completely unimaginable 2 years ago when you saw the first like Stable Diffusion AI generated images. Same with video. Video, you look at the famous Will Smith eating spaghetti, and now you look at what you can do with VO3. It's just like worlds apart. So if this is the rate of progress, like the speed of progress we are going, like in 2 years, this is happening. And you can already ask an LLM for complete feedback about everything you do. Like, it is probably going to happen that all these jobs, I'm not sure if they will be replaced, but they could be replaced. Like, potentially, technically, AIs could do your job. Now, will it really happen? Will we let that happen? Because if we let that happen, I mean, it's not going to be yours and my decision, like at the individual level, but people in this society will have to make decisions on whether we let such a massive society shift happen. And if it does, then I don't know what's going to happen. But if the consequences would be, it's technically possible to replace 99% of what humans do by AIs and AI agents. Now, will we do it? If we do, then what do humans do? It's another question. It's another debate. I don't think you wanted to specifically go there with your question, but that's kind of my view of, will AI replace me? It's a question of when, not if. Because it's going super fast. So knowing that, my perspective on that right now is, it's not going to happen tomorrow. So what can we do now? What can we do today? Well, what I'm doing today is I'm learning as much as I can. I'm learning how to use the tools, and I'm learning how to use them to my advantage to get an edge on other people who don't use the tool. I recommend everyone learning with us to do as well. Just dive in, like use it like I explained before. Use it as your coach. use it as your assistant, use it as your main design feedback person, and get stuff out there, like work faster, ship faster, work smarter, and try to build as much as you can. Because I don't think we are going to kind of rewind the tape and go back to a time where there was no AI. That doesn't seem probable at all. And when you see what's coming, like the potential of this new intelligence, and the fact that some of the big players are just racing to get there first, the rhythm at which it's happening, it's only gonna speed up. So yeah, today is absolutely the right time to start educating yourself about these, spending time experimenting with them, and figuring out how to use them to your advantage right now.
Would you also say with those efficiencies that are naturally inherent with AI utilization in design work, does it then free up a designer to perhaps play a slightly different role in that creative process? I mean, my perspective is that I feel like there always will need to be a quote unquote human in the loop. So somebody that is qualifying and checking creative work. From a brand point of view, that would concern me a little bit, that some artificial intelligence is making the decision fully and autonomously over what creative work is going out there, because that feels quite risky. And then you've got the added layer of when anything commercial is in play, you've got compliance and you've got regulation and you've got legal frameworks that you're adhering to. So I think the world's quite complex. And also, to add on to that, there may also be this bit of a slow process for people. We're talking about image generation and how the images actually look, and this theory of the uncanny valley, and how some of the images, they look real, but then also maybe not, and maybe they're missing something. And is that something that people will eventually get used to over time? I don't think we know yet. But for me, I think the thing is that the human will always need to be there. And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, if you see that human role, let's say, like changing and evolving.
Yep. I agree with you. I also, I don't want to see a world where humans are completely out of this equation when it comes to branding, when it comes to design, when it comes to anything really in society, because that would be a pretty sad place to live in, like a pretty sad society where you would have AIs just doing all the work, humans doing whatever, leisure or just chilling, and earning an income that the government will pay because there will be abundance. That's kind of like the AI best case scenario. Like it all works out. They don't take control, and they still work for us, but we don't really need to work. And the big question, the more podcasts I listen to and the more expert I listen to about this specific topic, is then what will human do? Because for a lot of people, their work is giving them meaning. And if they don't need to work anymore, what do they do? So that's that. Now, ideally for me, to answer your question, I would always want to keep humans in the loop. And I think humans will naturally come back to human created content or human only kind of communities or pockets of, groups of people who are, yes, they use AI in their everyday life. They collaborate they work in hybrid teams. It's probably going to happen like this, like you will transition from human teams to hybrid teams to gradually more and more and more tasks being performed by AIs, and later when they are ready by humanoid robots that will physically do the physical job that some people can do and still do now, like serving in restaurants or driving around. Well, you don't even need a robot to drive, like a humanoid robot to drive a car. The car will just drive itself. Drivers, I was listening to that other podcast yesterday. Drivers are one of the occupations that employ the most people in the world. So what happens when cars just drive themselves, which is already happening in some of the most developed cities. What will happen to these millions of people living, from the better part of them, in lower income country? What happens to them? Like, what do they do? So that's question. But me, if you ask me, is this something I desire? No, absolutely not. I would prefer to have a society run by humans that take the main decisions and keep that intelligence, that artificial intelligence, working on very niche problems or very niche issues, but for the sake of people and for the interests of people. The problem is that everyone is racing towards AGI, like a super intelligence that would just be able to do everything, not just one niche issue. And I think that's kind of something to worry about, I think, because once we create an intelligence that can do everything we can do and is better than us at that, then there's obviously the problem of losing control. And then what happens? You cannot put it back in the box. It's just like too late. And then, oops, what did we do? So obviously, I don't want to see that happening. I hear more and more conversations about that. Maybe as my algorithm, like, leading me to the doom side of things. I don't know. But it's not something that makes me feel good.
Like we've just written the script for a Steven Spielberg film, and
Yeah.
I'll transcribe it and put it into ChatGPT later and see what it will make of it. But yeah, no, I hear exactly what you're saying, and just if we kind of come back a little bit from that
Yeah,
future.
sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. This is where we need to go with it. But one thing that was coming to mind as you were speaking was this idea about, which is, you know, important from a, you know, brand strategy point of view, is the level of distinctiveness that a brand might have in the market. And I'm just wondering if we're imagining that AI tools and AI tool usage to some degree is based on templates and what templates have worked previously, and if the utilization is going to be high, are we going to end up in a scenario where we have brands that all look the same or roughly the same or feel the same? That's something that I've wondered, and being somebody that is highly experienced using these tools, can you see that as well?
I used to see that when at the beginnings of ChatGPT, when everyone started to use ChatGPT to ask for content ideas, it would spit out the same kind of like generic ideas for your tutorials, for your course, for even the titles all kind of look the same. They all use like unleash this or master this, you know, like these cliche keywords. Because at the end of the day, these models, at least the GPT 3.5, GPT 4, 4. Like the kind of like legacy model, how we call them, just to say the old models, they were trained on the internet. And so a lot of blog posts use that vocabulary. And so they were trained on these and they thought this is a good title. So I used to see that kind of cookie cutter approach of content design, well, not so much design, but content. Because at the end of the day, I'm not so much of a designer. I'm more a content creator. And I teach about Canva design, etc. But I wouldn't consider or define myself as a designer. I'm good at design, but I'm not a designer. But I did notice that when I was trying to come up, I was trying to lean on the AI to come up with new content ideas, that we were kind of in that loop. But with the more recent models, the more intelligent models, the reasoning models, it's starting to change. Like it's actually becoming really good. And also depending on how you prompt and how much data you give it and how much it knows about you already, it actually is really good at offering personalized advice, personalized recommendation. And so I think this, what we witnessed of like everything being the same, doesn't really apply anymore because the models are so intelligent and have access to so many things, and you can prompt them in so many different ways. So they become multimodal. So you can input photos, you can input screenshots, you can input entire books, documents, whatever. Before we weren't able to do that. You would put a prompt that is a little bit too long, and ChatGPT would bug out and say, "Oh, sorry, I cannot. Like, it's too big. Cut it in 5 or whatever." But now it's been changing, and so I would say this is kind of, it's not the same anymore. So that, but obviously, I always like to. I'm not you. So it comes back to something I've seen in your notes about AI generated creativity versus AI augmented creativity. I think the right way of using AI is to use it as an AI augmenter or enhancer for your productivity, not a replacement for your creativity. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just like taking the shortcut of just asking the AI tools, okay, create some content for me. Create a faceless YouTube video for me that I can pretty much run the prompt, edit quickly, and post that to my channel. And hopefully I'll become rich with that. A lot of people are trying to cut corners. But the way I like to use it as an enhancer, someone that kind of boosts my productivity, the speed of my workflow. But obviously, the ideas still need to come. Like, you need to work with the AI as a partner, as a creative partner, and this is where it works best. And this is what we're doing at Team Ronnie. Also, because otherwise it becomes so boring. Like, what's the point of creating a piece of content that is you have zero input, except from a prompt you probably copied from someone else? What's the point? Like, this is not what I want to do with my life. I want to experiment, learn, and then share what I learn with the people around me and the people in my community, the people who decided to follow us, because I'm still passionate about all of this. And I feel like if you just copy paste some AI outputs, there's nothing to be passionate about there. It's just like, yeah.
I can see that too. And I think one of the key things for building a brand is consistency and achieving that level of consistency over time, ensuring, yeah, you've got this desire to be creative, but I feel like the AI tools and perhaps Canva has some of these built into them, that it understands your brand through a brand kit, can help you stay on brand through a framework. And I think that could potentially be quite a good utilization of a tool such as Canva. But I'm also interested for you to talk around that topic, a bit more about Canva's specific capabilities and whether or not you deem Canva to be a tool that is designed specifically for more sort of SMEs, sort of small scale entrepreneurs starting up an enterprise, or do you see the capabilities actually empowering like a brand team as a whole? Like, where do you see the tool fitting in?
Okay. Maybe I can start with a statistic I read recently. I think 94% of the Fortune 500 companies are using Canva for Teams. So that should immediately answer the question, is it for SMEs? No, not only for SMEs. I think Canva did start 12 years ago, I think. Yeah, 12 years ago, as a tool for non-designers. That was kind of like the Photoshop replacement for non-designers, because Photoshop has this very steep learning curve, at least back then. It was very complicated. I remember taking 45 minutes to get rid of the background of an image of myself on Photoshop, and it was not well done. It was like all crappy, and now it's just a one-click thing in Canva. So that specific feature, the background remover, for me kind of like summed it all up. What Canva is, it's a design tool, a no-brainer design tool for people who are not professional designers. For a long time, that was kind of like Canva's positioning. But then it grew into more than just that. Like, they grew bigger, they added more features, they went into video, they went into website, they went into AI. They leaned into AI very, very strongly. And now it's not that. Like, you can build amazing things with Canva. And for bigger teams, not just SMEs, like for corporations, it's they have this other tier. It's called Canva for Enterprise, which allows kind of to set different tiers. So you would have, for example, your account owners or your account lead designers that would be able to set up a brand kit or multiple brand kits. You can create as many brand kits as you want. So you could have a brand kit for your podcast. You could have a brand kit for your Black Friday campaign. You could have a brand kit for anything you want, any campaign you want. You have a brand kit for that. And your brand kit has all of your visual assets. You would have all of your specific colors, fonts. You can go very deep into your font hierarchy. Every title needs to be like this. Every subtitle, every body, text body needs to have this font, this size, this thing. So you can go really granular. You can create templates. So your designers in your Canva team can create branded templates with, for example, this is how you post on Instagram with, and you create a design, you lock specific elements on this design, and you turn a feature on that says anyone else using this template can only use these fonts and these color palettes. And so that way you're sure anyone in your team will create on brand, will design on brand. And they don't have to start from scratch. They don't have to pick a template. They already have in their brand kit, in their Canva account, all the assets they need. And I always come back to this. They don't need to call or to Slack the graphic designer. Hey, can you make that flyer for me? No, they can do it themselves by just grabbing the template in the right Canva folder and just go ahead and just swap the text box for whatever they need and drag another photo into the frame. And to me, and to not just me, but I know from having been on the inside at Canva and still being a Canva verified expert, we are also, as experts, we have the opportunity to deliver training to organizations about Canva for enterprise and stuff like that. I know that for many organizations, and also big organizations, like I know, for example, a big real estate company in the US, they were using that with their 10,000 plus employees, and they were really happy about what Canva can do and to empower their organization. So not just an SME tool anymore.
So yeah, as we're talking, Ronnie, I'm starting to imagine more and more scenarios. I know you're talking about enterprise solutions with Canva, but I'm imagining people almost establishing marketing agencies of one, let's say, or it's an entrepreneur that is starting a business and they can actually utilize these tools to their advantage, and maybe they don't need a design team or an agency. Let's see, maybe that is the reality to some degree. But with this intersection of AI, creativity, and brand marketing, what are you envisaging over the next 3 to 5 years, let's say? And what's something that might challenge our current understanding of what's possible in this content creation space?
Mm-hmm. So seeing ourselves 3 to 5 years in the future, especially today, it seems like an eternity when we look at the speed of change. So 3 to 5 years, well, first there is 3 years and then there is 5 years. I think in 5 years, the world will be very different from what it would be in 3 years. And in 3 years, it will still be very different from what it is today in the creative space. But I think we are going to move towards more and more integration between AI and actual human workers. So we'll, like I mentioned before, we'll probably like move into hybrid teams where we would have AI agents kind of doing the repetitive work, the research work, the copywriting, the feedback, all of this work that is kind of low touch and could easily be delegated to an AI agent. Basically, kind of what we are already doing individually when you are people who are solopreneurs or have a small team like we have or you do, you already kind of lean heavily on AI to help you with these tasks. But this will kind of be formalized into organizations where the organization itself would have its AI setup and AI, like little army of AI or workforce of AI agents that would perform personalized tasks for that specific organization. So it would be fine-tuned to the needs of teams, organizations, or even departments within an organization. I believe we are going to see more of that. This will lead to, yes, job displacement, people being made redundant because they were just doing, I don't know, accountancy or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to draw conclusions on professions or anything like that, but anything basically that's kind of like low-hanging fruit at some point will be kind of replaced by AI systems that can do it faster and better and more accurately and with less error and for less money. So that's kind of a reality of business, that's optimization. But then what do like the top designers do? I think 3 years we still have like people who really are the brand guardians of for companies. So we'll still have creative directors. We'll still have like top graphic designers, animators, video editors that would definitely rely heavily on the tools, but they will be kind of like the guardians of the visual identity, the brand identity, and making sure this is anything that is produced, like now I'm talking specifically in the framework of like design and branding, making sure that everything that is produced, every piece of communication, every touch point for the consumers is consistent to that identity. I think we still have, in 3 years at least, people making sure that is the case. And also people making sure, like people steering this identity, developing it, fine-tuning it, making it evolve with time and with the trends of the moment. At least that's how it was going at Canva. Like I remember they had this entire department, and I don't know, it's been 3 years now, 3.5 years that I'm not working there anymore, but I would be curious to see like how much like normal designers, regular designers at Canva lean on the AI today to design. But I'm sure it's much more than 3 years ago.
Maybe that's a podcast for you or a piece of content to go and find out,
Yeah.
I think.
I'll find out. I'm going there this October, so I will spy around.
There's an idea. Okay, yeah. So I really like something you said there, which is, and I share, I think, somewhat of a similar view that you can, in my mind anyway, you can break down this AI landscape, let's say, into 3 different buckets. You've got your foundational models, your open AIs and your Anthropics, and these large data prediction models that are significant, and they're the engine room of this intelligence. And then you've got the specific tools themselves that are enabling efficiency, and people are getting familiar with them and they're experimenting. And then I think you make a really good point about how enterprises will likely and inevitably, you said, create their own AI management systems, which we fine-tuned to their specific needs. And that is the pathway for agentic AI, I would say. And I think with that in mind, I can see that creative skill sets, I feel like they need to be interlinked with technical ones too. I mean, I know you're saying that, like, yeah, this brand guardianship role is going to be key, this oversight and this human in the loop. But I feel like it might be wise for designers and people in brand, just generally in marketing. You know, we talk about how precarious the industry is at the moment. I think that to understand the inner workings and the fundamentals of the technology would serve people well. I mean, how do you feel about that as a concept?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I were a photographer, I'd be worried today. if that was my main profession, like I'm a photographer, I would be really worried because what you can get with prompts today and just a simple image as a reference or even no reference is amazing and amazingly realistic. I think in 3 years, most of the collaterals, the marketing and branding collaterals we would see at any company size would be mostly generated with AI. I'm talking about photos, I'm talking about videos, most of the copy, or at least a mix of human plus AI. Again, that concept of AI augmented creativity. But more specifically, when it comes to video and photography, because tools are becoming so powerful and so realistic, I was blown away with the first 2 weeks. I couldn't get as a Canva expert, we got unlimited access to VO3 when it got integrated into Canva. And I spent literally 2 weeks prompting to generate like 8-second video clips with VO3. And I was able to create ads. I was able to create little stories with somehow consistent characters. And I'm talking about 3-4 months ago already. Now it's even much better. And I was really blown away. So, when I see the progress that has been made in 3 months, I cannot imagine where we would be in 3 years or in 5 years with that same technology. I think we will have this flawless video creation tool. We would be able to create basically any video, even long form video from prompts, and it would look indistinguishable from something shot by a crew of video producers. I think that's the reality of where we would be in 3 years. And so for companies and branding departments and marketing departments, what does it mean? Then you have the choice to pay a, I don't know, $200 subscription and be able to do whatever you want, like to produce whatever you want. Or you have to pay $10,000 for a one-day shooting, which involves like 50 people. I mean, what do you do? Like, obviously, you'd go for the 200 subscription and you would create whatever you want and make it work day and night. And at the end of the day, you would have a similar looking or even a better video clip or ad or whatever, because there's no limit to what can physically be done. So, yeah, I feel like in specific areas like this one, we will see massive change, and the tools will be adopted. So the role, like to come back and try and answer your question, the role of these brand guardians will be to, one, yes, ensure these AI-produced media still carry the brand identity. So that would be part of their job. And the other part is to themselves understand the technology or surround themselves by people who do understand the technology, who know how to prompt, who know how to generate an hyper-realistic photo shoot with, I don't know, Nano Banana or ChatGPT, and manage these teams. So brief them, control their creative skills, AI-augmented creative skills, and steer them in the right direction that is still consistent with the brand identity they have decided to pursue. So that would be a very interesting kind of hybrid scenario, but I'm pretty sure this is where we are going.
I think you're making an interesting point. I'm probably a little bit more doubting Thomas about the level of capability of the video. I think, yes, I think maybe it might depend on the media. So it might be sort of short form, high frequency type channels. Maybe you're going to see, that type of creative as being quite commonplace, but potentially, I don't know, it could head down this road, it could not, but you might see the more sort of epic, large scale formats of cinema and TV that they may still need those production values. I mean, they'll clearly be integrating an AI in some form, but I think it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. There might be two tiers, if you like. to creative output, and there might be different values sort of placed against them.
Maybe it becomes a genre, like just
Yeah,
human cinema, like
yeah,
non-AI productions that could become
yeah,
like like retro has become fashionable again. Like maybe that's the future as well. Like there will be that niche of people, alternative people who refuse to use the tools and go back to how it used to be done. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. And I think it might be, something brands might need to make a call on as to how they want to show up in the world.
Mhm.
Do
Yeah.
they want to embrace that AI aesthetic, or do they not? And that
Mhm.
does that
And I think the AI aesthetic is, I think we'll get to a point where there's no more distinction between AI or non-AI video. Like the level of realism will become such that that will not be a thing. Like the AI aesthetic, it's just going to be video produced.
yeah,
And I understand and I respect that you might not have the same opinion about we will get there. But for having put my hand in the mud and worked with this tool and see what's happening today with, because it's always like twofold. It starts with the image generation, and then it's kind of triggers to the video generation, because they go hand in hand, because a video is just a series of frames, like still frames. So if you can create a hyper realistic photo, you can create a hyper realistic video. It's just a question of time before we get there. And what I'm seeing today with the latest Gemini 2.5, aka Nano Banana thing model, is amazing and
mm,
hyper realistic. And so, prediction, maybe in 3 to 6 months, Google is going to come with VO4 or VO, I don't know what, but what will be after VO3, and it
mhm.
will be mind blowing. Or it might not be Google, it might be OpenAI, it might be another AI lab, one of the big ones. But this is what's on the roadmap, and by the end of 2026, we'll probably have what we can do with photo generation today. We'll have that with video generation, and it will not be limited to 8 seconds. So that's why I'm saying this, but I might be wrong. But that's kind
I,
of
I,
what.
I think you're completely right to look at where we're at now and go, okay, this is gonna evolve rapidly.
Mhm.
So it's only going to evolve and get better. So I've got a question here, which I think is worth asking because it's on this note. So if small businesses can use Canva's AI to look as polished and as brand ready as a Nike or an Apple in their marketing, do you think that levels the playing field? Or does it make a premium brand, like a premium design piece of creative from a premium brand, feel, I don't know, almost more meaningless?
Um, so you're right in saying that any solopreneur can mimic the sleek Apple design. Yes, they can probably do that with the right tools. Um, but there will still be a small solopreneur with 200 subscribers on their channel. Where do you go from there? It's not because you have an Apple-like logo, a Nike-like logo. It's not enough to be a globally recognized brand. You still need all the rest. Like you still need the audience, you still need the content, you still need the distribution for your products. So it's not just brand, because a brand, I mean, a logo is a logo. When you look at the Nike swoosh, it's just like something I could, with the right hand movement, you could draw in a second. But there's millions of dollars behind this logo, because so those millions of dollars behind the logo and the hundreds of millions of dollars in the creation of the Nike brand, the Nike stores, the Nike distribution system. So that's what is the real difference between Nike and a solopreneur. Even if the solopreneur can create a logo that looks as good as the Nike logo, a brand is not everything. Like, brand is what people think about you, how they perceive you, your business, your organization. But if nobody knows your brand, like because they've never seen it, they've never come into contact with your brand. That's visibility, and that's what Nike or Apple excels at. Like they know how to put themselves into massive audiences, and solopreneurs don't have the resources to do that. So that's the difference.
That's an excellent response to that question, just to kind of hone in on actually what's at question here. And Ronnie, I'd like to wrap up now, and I wanted to thank you for your time. I think it's such an interesting podcast, and I think it will be highly valuable to so many people in this brand creative design space. And I wanted to wish you all the best in your endeavors, educating your community and adding value to so many people. And yeah, massive respect to you for doing that and creating such a thriving and useful YouTube channel with Diana. So thank you very much. And yeah, look forward to hearing you on other podcasts as well.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Tom. That was a really good podcast. I really enjoyed being there with you. I think your questions were really interesting. And yeah, we live in a crazy time. And so I'm glad that we can find these pockets of discussion between professionals to share our thoughts. And whatever I might have said today might turn out to be completely wrong. I don't know. This is just my take on everything I'm living through right now. I'm also wishing you all the best with your podcast, with the AI Brand Voice. I hope you get to that massive reach that you deserve, because this is really quality. So thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Thank you, Ronnie.